Hey, this is Eric, and welcome to this session on The Bard's Tale, Google AI in Education. Before we get started, just want to make sure you can get to all the resources for this session. You can find those at bit.ly/Kurtz-Google AI. That bit.ly link will get you to a Google document that looks like this, and that document has everything we're going to be looking at here in the session. Actually, it's got a whole lot more than we're going to get to in this particular session, but that's great. You got a lot more you can explore in the document beyond all the stuff we're covering here. Again, that is, I'll put up a little larger version of that. There you go. That is bit.ly/Kurtz-Google AI. Now, when you get that document pulled up, feel free to make a copy or save it to your drive or bookmark it as needed. Whatever works best for you is totally fine. At the top of the document, you will find all of my contact info. So if you want to get in touch with me, my email, my blog, my socials, YouTube, newsletter, email group, Facebook group, whatever works best for you, please feel free to connect with me however works best for you. And also at the top of the document on page 2, you'll see my more general AI resources. For this session, we're looking at specifically Google AI tools, but I've got lots of other webinar videos and trainings and resources on AI and education in general, managing misuse, coding with AI, and a whole lot more. So take advantage of all of those resources there as well. But what are we doing in this session? So what we're going to be doing here today really is just three main things. We're going to do a real quick introduction on classic Google AI tools, and then pretty much just going to camp out on the new Google AI tools, the ones that have come out in just the last 6 months or a year. And then we'll finish up with just a teeny little sneak peek at some upcoming AI tools as well. Now, again, there's more stuff in the document about uses for AI in education and addressing AI misuse, and I do have additional videos and resources that help support those. But for this one, we're really just focusing on the Google AI tools. So let's start off by just very quickly mentioning that even though AI seems to be the hot new thing, it's been around for quite a while. There's actually a lot of Google tools that use AI. So if you've used things like Doc's voice typing to dictate to your document, or the automatic captioning inside of slides, or tools like Read Along, which lets early readers learn to read by having an AI listen to them as they read and provide feedback, or Interview Warm Up that does the same thing for adults to practice a pretend interview with the AI. Musical tools like Assisted Melody, where you play a tune and the AI then plays along with you, or the Freddie Meter, where you see how well you can sing like Freddie Mercury and the AI evaluates you on that. If you use Google Photos, AI is labeling all your photos so that you can just say, hey, find pictures of snow, and it will find all your images that have snow in it, for example. Things like Google Lens, where you can use your phone's camera to figure out, what a plant is or an animal that you're taking a picture of, or to pull text from a real world sign or card or paper. There's tools like Socratic that allow students to take a picture of their homework or their worksheet or their textbook and find study guides, find YouTube videos that help teach that information to assist them. Or tools like AutoDraw, where if you're not the best artist, you can do a little doodle, and Google's AI will help replace your doodle with a better version of it. Or things like Gmail Smart Reply, when you're writing a message to give you some suggested replies, or Smart Compose, when you're writing an email or a document and it gives you some autocomplete suggestions there, or Google Translate, anytime you're using that. All of these are AI tools that we have had for a very, very long time, and they're fantastic. You can get to all of those in the agenda. I do have a whole section in here on the classic tools, so check those out. Google AI tools for speech and for music and for images and for language and so forth. What we're going to do now is where we're mostly going to camp out for this session, which is the new Google AI tools that have come out in the last 6 months or the last year. And a lot of times what we're looking at now It's what we call generative AI. That's the new thing where AI has been trained on a massive amount of data, and now through prompts that you give it, it can generate new content. The AI can make text, it can make images, make music, make code. It can write and generate new content. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at here with, first of all, Google Bard. So if you're not familiar with Google Bard, you might be familiar with things like ChatGPT. That's probably one of the most well-known AI chatbot tools out there. Well, ChatGPT, that's from OpenAI. They created that tool, and it's fantastic. I love ChatGPT. I include it in a lot of my trainings when I'm talking about AI. But today, in this particular session, we are focusing on the Google tools. And so Bard is Google's version of that. It's Google's generative AI chatbot. And you can find that at bard.google.com. Here's what it looks like. If you have not tried out Bard yet, I encourage you absolutely try it out right away. It's free, which is great. There's no cost for it at all. It's freely available. If you're using just your personal Gmail account, you can just go to bard.google.com and say you want to try it out, and boom, you're good to go. Now, if you are using a school account, heads up, it is something that your school does have to turn on. So if you're using a school account and you go there, you might get a message that says something like, this is not available for your account. If that's the case, talk to your tech folks. And I'll show real quick. So if there are any tech folks watching, here's the idea. I'll pull over the admin console real quick just to show the idea. If there are any tech people watching, it's really easy to turn this on. Basically, in the admin console, the tech folks who run the Google Suite for your school can go to the admin console. They can go down to the apps section, and from the apps section, they need to go to additional Google services. And inside of there, one of the options is called Early Access Apps. That's where this is at. So if you drill all the way down to Early Access Apps, as long as you turn that on, that is turning on Google Bard for your users. Now, Google does ask that we only, for now, enable Bard for adults, so 18 and above. So when you do turn this on, for example, you'll see I've got it turned on for the staff folder, but for the student organizational unit, I have that turned off. And so that is what Google is asking, is that Bard is only available at the moment for 18 and over. Now, very likely that won't always be the case as they continue to refine this and roll it out, but for now, that is the intention for Bard. So again, if you want to use Bard and your school account is saying like you don't have access to it, chat with your tech folks. Very easy for them to turn it on, and no concern about students accessing it because they've got the ability to micromanage how that's rolled out. But you can always just use, like I said, your personal Gmail account. Just use your regular personal Gmail account and boom, you're in and you are ready to go. All right, so let's go ahead and dig into Bard. Let's just take it for a spin. Let's try it out. So basically, it is a AI chatbot, which means we're going to enter a prompt and it's going to respond to us. So I'm going to start off with a pretty simple prompt here, and I'm going to be copying and pasting things in because it's a lot faster than me trying to type things in here. So I'm going to come down here at the bottom where it says enter a prompt, and I'm going to say, tell me about the James Webb Space Telescope. That's of course been in the news a lot over the last year or so, and I'm a bit of a science nerd, so that's right up my alley. Let's say I want to learn about the James Webb Space Telescope. So I put that in and click submit and give that a moment. So basically what's happening is Bard is now generating a response for me about the James Webb Space Telescope. What I mean by that is it's not just copying and pasting content from a website. It's taking everything it knows about the James Webb Space Telescope, and it's stitching it together. It's putting together this response. And that's the idea of a generative AI tool. And so here is my response, where it's teaching me all kinds of things about the JWST and what it does. So that is the type of response that you would expect to get from it. Well, let's dig a little deeper here. So we're going to start at the top and just work our way down here because I want to talk about all these other little buttons and stuff that go along with a response that you get from Bard. So one of the first things to notice is it says view other drafts up here at the top. So you will get a primary response. You'll get a primary draft response back from Bard, but it actually runs typically 3, sometimes 2, but usually 3 different responses. And if you click view other drafts, you'll see there's a draft 2 and there's a draft 3. And sometimes they're just a little bit different from each other. You know, it might take a little bit of a different, slant on one versus the other. And so I always encourage you to check out the different drafts. Maybe you find another one that's a little bit more up your alley, is answering the question in a way that makes more sense to you than others. All right. In addition to that, we also have the option to listen to the response that has been generated here. So all I have to do is come up here and click on the listen button and just give it a moment to start.
The James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, is a large infrared space telescope that was launched on December 25th, 2020.
All right, so there you go. And so that's a nice feature of this, that if it's more helpful to hear the response read aloud, you can always use that button up there in the top corner as well. All right, well, let's go ahead and keep on moving down here. We're gonna look at the bottom where we've got some additional buttons. One of the newest ones is the double check response option. I'm gonna give a click on that and let that start running, and I'll explain what this is doing. So basically, when a AI generates a response for you, there's always the possibility that there could be incorrect information. And Google is very upfront about that. If you look at the very bottom, I know it's hard to see way down here at the bottom, but it says Bard may display inaccurate or offensive information that doesn't represent Google's views. So they always need to say that because, again, this is an AI that is generating this information, and it's possible. It is possible that it might have some information that's not accurate. When Bard first came out, again, at this point, this has been, probably 6-7 months ago when it first was available, there were definitely some inaccuracies. I would run a search or I'd run a prompt and be like, oh my goodness, that doesn't sound right. It's gotten so much better over time, but just because an AI said it doesn't mean it's true. And this is a really important skill for our students as well as for us as adults to continue to develop, is the ability to evaluate content that we come across online. We can't just because it's online doesn't mean it's true, and the same thing is true for AIs. And the problem is, AIs can seem really confident. A lot of times when they give you a response, it seems like, okay, here it is. It's worded very well, and the AI seems very confident. So it's easy to just be like, okay, I believe that. That's true. Well, it's not always the case. And so this is a really neat new feature here where anytime you get a response from Bard, you can click this and it basically reruns all this information in a comparison approach where it's comparing it to actual web searches. Now, in this case, everything came back green, so that's good. But if you click Understand Results, you'll see if it's green, basically what that means is that there's a good chance that the information there is correct. That, when a Google search was done, what was found was very similar to what the AI said. So we're in pretty good shape there. If it is colored like an orangish color like this, that's going to mean, well, Google ran a search and when it compared it to what Bard said, it was different. It did not match up there. And so you probably want to revisit that. Take a little closer look at that. Now, some things aren't going to be highlighted. There may not be enough information, or it might not be like a factual statement. It just might be, some filler information there. So in this case, this is good. They came back green. And what's nice is I can click on these and it'll tell me what it compared that to. So for each one of these lines, it could be, a similar website. Sometimes it's NASA that it's pulling up. Other times it's like webtelescope.org. So it could be, here's a Scientific American, but that's so great. So that means what I can do is I can click on any of these and actually say, okay, so that claim came from this, link here. I'll give that a click, head on out to that web page, and it's going to jump me right to the spot in the web page where I can verify this, where I can compare that statement to the web page. This I really appreciate, and this is going a long way to help support our use of AI in education by showing students how to get a little more verification for the information that comes up. Now, when you run that search button there, the double check, it'll also typically give you some additional searches at the bottom saying, well, okay, we checked all this, and if you also want to learn more beyond even these links that came up here, here's some more searches you could run. And if I click on any one of these, it's going to pop open an actual Google search where I can now run that Google search and learn more about that. So that is a great button to have. I'm really glad we have that available to us now. Let's see, what else can we do while we're down here at the bottom? The little three dots button allows us to copy the response. So if we just want to copy this and paste it somewhere else, that's an easy way to be able to grab everything there. And then once it's copied, you can just paste it into, a document or a slideshow or whatever you might want to do with it. Having said that, though, there's also a share button here. If you click on, gives you some options to share. And so this includes share, documents, and Gmail. So we'll take a quick look at these, and then we'll dive a little deeper into each one of them later on. The idea is that if I click Export to Docs, what it's going to do is it's going to take all this information and it's going to put it into a document. Then I can click on Open Docs, and it will pop open that document there. So now it has made a copy of that information into a document for me. Same thing if I do draft in Gmail. If I do that, it's going to grab everything and throw it into a Gmail message. I can click Open Gmail, and you'll see it's got that drafted Gmail message there ready to go for me. And I won't actually send that out, but you get the idea there. The other one, which is the share, that is to get a link, to create a public link that you could then give to other people. So if I wanted somebody to be able to read this conversation, I could click Create Public Link, and now I could copy that link, and anybody I give that link to, they would be able to read this conversation here that I have been having. So that's a nice option for sharing. Again, we'll take a little closer look at those as we go a little bit deeper into this. Other things we can do at the bottom, thumbs up and thumbs down. This can allow you to give feedback to Google as to how well the answer was. If you, in this case, I think this is a pretty good answer, so I could hit thumbs up on that. But if I hit thumbs down, it also will ask me why. Now, again, I don't have to give a particular reason why, but same thing with if I did hit thumbs down, it would also ask me to indicate why I didn't think that was the best response. And I encourage you to do that because that does help Google improve this tool by letting it know where you've come across some poor responses. All right, the last thing at the bottom here that I want to mention is this button that says Modify Response. If you click on that, what it does is it says, what if this was a good response, you're happy with it, but you want to tweak it a little bit. If you hit this Modify Response button, you can make this original response shorter, longer, simpler, more casual, or more professional. And so, I'll just grab more casual as an example. And what it's going to do is it's going to rerun that, and it's going to be a very similar response, but the tone of it is changing a little bit. And so here we have, a little bit more of a casual take on that information. And again, it might be that you want, something shorter, longer, simpler for younger students might be an example as well. All right, so that's all the buttons for just responding to one particular prompt. Let's go a little bit deeper now. So in addition to this Modify Response button, there's other ways we can tailor this, because all I said was tell me about the James Webb Space Telescope. I didn't really give it much context, and that's an important thing to think about. you get out what you put into this. And so the prompt crafting it's really important. And so just saying, tell me about the James Webb Space Telescope, that's pretty general. If I gave it some more parameters initially, that might have, definitely would have given me a different response. So let's try that. Now I could come down here and just ask it again to start over with, with a new prompt. But the one button we haven't hit on, and I'll use this as an example, is you can always go back up to your original prompt and you can hit the little pencil button here to edit your original. If you said, you know what, I think that was not the best wording that I gave it. I really probably should try this again. You can go back up, hit the pencil, and let's say I change this to something like explain the James Webb Space Telescope to a first grader in a way that is fun and engaging. Now, if I hit update on that, it's going to rerun that prompt, and hopefully we're going to get something that is a simpler explanation because we're saying first grader, and hopefully it's going to make it a little bit of fun as well. And yeah, we're talking about imagine a giant magnifying glass, so it's putting it in terms where, hopefully this would make more sense for a younger student. And look at this, it's even doing a fun activity for us. So that's pretty cool. That's nice. And again, don't forget, you've got multiple drafts over here if you wanted to look at a different draft, like, a giant eye that can see across the universe, for example. Excellent. That's great. All right. So having said that, though, you always can also just add another prompt at the bottom here. So let's say that instead of starting from scratch over again, I just want to continue the conversation, because that's really what this is. It's a conversation. Typically, you may not stop at just one response. You're going to ask a follow-up question, and that may lead to something else. And that's what we'll do next. So let's say we come down to the bottom where it says enter a prompt. And we say, put that in the form of a poem in the style of Dr. Seuss. And so let's say we go ahead and submit that. And so what it's going to do now, hopefully, is take this response that it just gave us here about, the James Webb Space Telescope in the manner that a first grader would understand. It's taking everything it knows about that, but then it's taking everything it knows about Dr. Seuss, and it's combining the two together, and it's writing a poem. So again, it's not looking this up, it's not finding this poem anywhere, it's generating this poem using everything it knows about all those different things. James Webb, first graders, and Dr. Seuss, all mushed together there. That's awesome. All right, very, very, very good. Let's keep going a little further. Let's say we want to ask it, maybe like, how does this compare to the Hubble Space Telescope? That would be one that when I was younger was kind of the best known space telescope back when I was a kid. And I want to show you something a little bit different this time. Instead of typing in that prompt, notice we do have a microphone button over here. Just like it can read the responses to you, you can speak your prompts to it. So let's try that. I'm going to ask it, how is the Hubble Space Telescope different? I'll give a click on the microphone. How is the Hubble Space Telescope different? There we go. Go ahead and submit that. And again, you'll notice I'm not saying how is the Hubble Space Telescope different from the James Webb Space Telescope. It knows that's what we're talking about. It's a conversation, and so you can talk very conversationally. Because we're still in the same chat, it knows that's what we're talking about. And so there we go. It's saying, okay, sure thing. Here, they're both powerful telescopes, but here are some of the differences. So it's talking about the size and the wavelengths and the location. It's also giving us a nice table here to break down some of the differences. And again, don't forget, we do have multiple drafts if we wanted to look at other ways of comparing that. So again, you can just have a very conversational chat with the Bard AI. Well, let's keep building on this. Another cool thing Bard can do is it can use images. Now, we haven't seen any show up yet. Sometimes, even without asking for an image, I've done prompts where it just throws images in there because it seems like it's appropriate. It hasn't done that yet in this conversation, so let's explicitly ask it that. So I could come down here to the bottom and say, show me pictures of both. Like, I'd like to see, well, what do these actually look like? And the cool thing is Bard can do that. It can run out to the internet, find images, and bring those back. And so here we go. We're getting, Hubble, and we're getting the James Webb Space Telescope there. So it will be able to generate or find images for us. And again, we can pop over to the different drafts. Sometimes it picks different images based upon that draft there. Now, the cool thing about images is not only can it include images, but it can also go the other way. I can give it a picture and I can ask it what that is a picture of. So let's say that I've got a space picture, an astronomy picture, and now I'm curious if it can give me some more details on it. Well, I'll go to the prompt and I'll say, what is this space image? And notice to the left, there's a little button that says upload. I can click on the upload button and I'll just head over to like my resources file. I've got a space picture here. I think it's the Horsehead Nebula. I just got it named like space image because I don't want to give it any hints here. It's a pretty big picture, so it may take a moment for it to upload there. Let me go ahead and submit that. And again, it may take it a moment to process it. It's a pretty good sized image there, but I can now upload a picture and say, tell me about this image. So it's not just text, it can also respond to images. And there you go. Yep, this is the Horsehead Nebula. And now it's telling me information about that as well. Good stuff. Excellent. All right. Well, we're getting to the end of this particular conversation. We've had a good chat here with it about a number of things related to astronomy. But let's say maybe I'm going to come back to this later. I might have some additional follow-up questions. Well, I am able to pin my conversations. You'll see I've got a couple that are pinned up here in the top left. Here's the conversation I'm in right now, the James Webb Space Telescope conversation. I can click on the little three dots button here and I can choose pin. And when I do that, what it's going to do, and it gives me a chance to rename the chat if I want to, but this is fine. This is a perfectly fine name for it. When I hit pin, it now pins it up here so that I can always get back to this in the future. So if later, I was in the middle of a new chat and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to get back to that James Webb chat, I could always click on the pin chat, pull that back up, and I can pick up where I left off. I can continue that conversation. Now, even if I don't pin it, I can still get to recent ones here. And if I don't see it in the recent, I can hit show more, and I can hit, load more, and I can keep going. I can keep adding more of them, hopefully to find the ones that I'm looking for, because I can always click on these and I can continue those conversations there as well. But pinning just makes it a little bit easier to get back to one that you want to be able to access quickly, although any of them in the recent, we can pick up those conversations. Now, there's also a like a history up here in the top right-hand corner where it says Bard activity. If you click that, that opens up a new tab, and you can go back. I think it's set to I think I've got it set to like 30 days or something right now. Yeah, we can take a look and see. I'm not sure if I'm seeing that right at the moment. It's 18 months. Okay, so I couldn't remember there. So the auto delete is 18 months. Wow, so we've got it for a long time. So we can go way, way back. And so for any of these, we can pull up these earlier conversations, and then from that conversation we can see what our chat was, what Bard's response was to the prompt that I had given it. All right, good stuff there. Well, let me clean up a couple of tabs here. And let's dive a little deeper into a couple of the features that I said we would come back around to. I just kind of glossed over them. I wanted to go a little bit deeper into them. So let's start up a new chat here. One thing I wanted to talk a little bit more about was the ability to share with others, because there was a feature that I did not actually mention, which is not only when you share a conversation with others can they read it, but they have the option to pick it up themselves. Now, they're not in your conversation. It's going to be their own copy of it, but other people can pick up the thread and continue that conversation on their own. So let me give you an example of how this might be helpful. So let's say that I want to use Bard as a teacher to help with lesson plans. So I could come here to Bard and I could put in a prompt like this. The prompt is, you are an excellent lesson designer with superior content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and creative ideas for helping students learn. I will provide you with a grade level, subject area, and topic or standard. You will generate a lesson plan with the following components: standards, objectives, total duration, pre-assessment, activities, post-assessment, time for each part of the lesson, and accommodations. Are you ready? So if I prompt Bard with that, it should hopefully say, yep, I'm ready. Go ahead and give me the information and we can continue. Good. Okay. So it's saying, give me this information and I will generate a lesson for you. Well, if I stop at this spot and don't actually go any further at the moment, and if I click that share button, and I say, I want to share this prompt with my colleagues so they can use this prompt without having to type it themselves or remember it or copy it from somewhere else. I just want to say, hey, here's a link. If you click this link, you can have Bard help you write your lesson plan. So let's go ahead and click on share, and we'll say, let's create a public link, and let's copy that link. So what I'm going to do is let me grab a different account now. I'm going to grab my trainer account. This is my personal account here. So I'm going to grab my trainer account and pull that over. So you can tell the colors are different. It's green versus red. I use color coding to help me keep my accounts separate there a little bit. But let's say I come over here to this other account, and I don't even have to be in Bard. I can just paste in this link, obviously. So there's the link. Here is the Bard link. If I go ahead and put that link in, notice what it's going to do. It's going to bring up a viewable version of this conversation. And this would always happen. So anytime I share a public link, this is what the person's going to see. They're going to see the prompt, and they're going to see the response. And if there were several back and forth, they could see, the rest of that conversation as well there. Well, notice what it has down at the bottom. Continue this chat. Now, they don't have to do that. I mean, it could just be, hey, I want you to read this conversation. Here's some good information. That's fine. But if you come down here and click continue this chat, it pulls that into Bard for that person. So now that person can just continue this. And so maybe they are trying to do a lesson plan, and so they continue the conversation by saying, okay, well, the grade level is grade 6, the subject is language arts, and the standard is determining the meaning of words and phrases that as they're used in text, including figurative, connotative, and technical meanings. Okay. Let's go ahead and submit that. And you'll see they're now continuing that particular conversation, even though they had never started it in the first place. They're just getting their a copy from me, but now they can run with it. And there we go. So now here's a lesson plan with all the activities and pre and post assessments and accommodations and additional notes and so forth. So I think that's a neat way to be able to share content from Bard with somebody else. So it can be a prompt starter for them as well. All right, let's do another new chat. Again, I wanted to just do a couple more quick examples to go a little deeper into some of these. Like, remember we were talking about how you can also export to Google Docs. So let's say I put in a prompt like this. I say, write a 250-word article on practical tips for self-care in the workplace to be included in a newsletter going out to work colleagues. So yeah, maybe that's my job this month. I'm in charge of the newsletter, and so I got to write this newsletter, need to send it out to my staff, my colleagues, and I just want a little bit of help getting started in this. Well, I could pop over to Bard and ask it to help with a 250-word article about self-care in the workplace. Well, now I could, of course, copy this, and paste it somewhere else. But remember, if I come down and click on the share button, all I have to do is choose export to docs. Give that a moment. Boop, boop, boop. It's going to do its thing. I can click open docs. And there it is. And so now, of course, I'm going to modify this. I'm not going to leave it exactly like that, but it's more of, just giving me a really good start. Maybe the old 80-20 rule, let it do 80% of the work, and then I do my 20. I bring in my own personality and my own tweaks to it to be able to finalize and finish that out. Or another one that we could show as an example would be with the integration with Gmail. So I could say, write an email to elementary school parents with suggestions to encourage student reading at home. I need to send an email to the parents, how important it is for reading at home. But again, just want a little bit of a start to get me going there. Here is that email draft for me, and I could hit the share button and say, send this out as a draft in Gmail. Give it a moment to do that. I can click on the open Gmail button now, and then here is my draft message. Now again, I'm going to want to change the subject because it just used the prompt as that. So I need to put in a different subject. And of course, I'm going to again flesh this out. I'm going to make it more specific to, how I would say this, but it's giving me a really nice starting point. Of course, I will just delete that one there. All right, good stuff. Now, you may say, well, that's really cool, Eric. So we can send it to others as a link. We can send it to Docs and Gmail. Well, you may have noticed we can also send things to Google Sheets. Earlier when we were doing the James Webb Space Telescope, you might have seen that in when it did the comparison between Hubble and James Webb. It said export to Sheets. So we can do stuff like that. So let's say that we'll do this real quick. Let me pull this up and copy paste. Let's say I want to generate a table to help me keep an inventory of all my board games. I'm a big tabletop game person. I love board games. I've got so many of them, and maybe I just want to find a way to keep track of them. So I could ask it to generate a table for me to help me keep track of all my board games. Well, I hope that should work by saying the word table. I hope it will do so. It should generate a table here that would allow me to be able, well, the first one didn't there. Let me try my other drafts. Yeah, I don't know why. That's fine. This one looks like it's doing a little bit better. Excellent. So this one is doing a little bit better job, and this one here as well. And so basically what this would do is I could then click export to Sheets, and it would send that over to Sheets. Now, again, I'm not really happy. I mean, it's giving me some columns and stuff like that. Maybe I could say something like use this format to generate a sample table with sample entries. So let's try that. Of course, I got to spell that correctly. that might help. Let's see if we get a sample table here that I could use a little bit easier. And there we go. So now you can see this is kind of what I was looking for. The first time it was just saying, hey, this would be a nice way to lay out your table. Now it has included some sample entries like Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne and Pandemic. And it's got publisher, year, etc., etc., etc. So that's great. I could just click export to Sheets. Give that a moment to do that. It's going to create the spreadsheet there. I can click open Sheets. And now, obviously, I'm going to want to fill in my own information, but it's given me a nice starting point where now I can start filling in my own games and filling in the different criteria there for each one of them. Good stuff there. All right. Well, let's go even deeper. Believe it or not, we can still go further with Bard. This is not everything related to Bard because just recently, Bard has released something new, a new feature called Extended extensions, and this is really cool. Now this is brand new, so it's still a little rough around the edges there, but it's brand new, and I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. So if you look up here in the top right hand corner, you'll see there's a button that looks like a puzzle piece. That's the extensions button. And if you give a click on that, you'll see that Bard is now starting to be able to integrate with other tools, even beyond what we've seen so far. And to begin with, this includes things like Google Flights, Hotels, Maps, Workspace, and YouTube. What that means is I can reference things like Gmail, Drive, Docs, YouTube in my, my prompts, and it's going to specifically jump out to those tools to craft a better response for me. And what's really neat about this is it's personal. So like with Gmail, Drive, and Docs, I can ask it to read my Gmail, my Google Drive, my Google Docs. And so it's not just the fact that it's searching the internet, it's my own content. I'm really excited about that because that could really be for me, I can see it being such a time saver to have it help me work through my email and my drive and things like that. So let's take a look at a couple examples here to see what this might look like here. So why don't we do a new chat? And for this new one, let's do Gmail first. Let's see how it might interact with Gmail. So what I'm going to ask it is to give me a summary of this week's Gmail messages from my Control-Alt-Achieve email group. So I've got an email group you can join. There's hundreds and hundreds of awesome educators all over the world that are a part of it. It's a great way to ask questions and share resources and stay connected. Well, maybe I've fallen behind in paying attention to all the new messages in there. So I could say, give me a summary of this week's, and notice what I did, I put in @Gmail. I probably didn't have to say that. Just by saying, this week's Gmail messages would have been enough. But technically putting that little @ in front of Gmail lets it know you want to use the extension there. And if you actually type in @Gmail, you'll see it'll pop up. So if I come here and I go @Gmail, you'll see it actually pops up and realizes that's the extension you want to use. So let's go ahead and submit that. And again, this is brand new, so not perfect yet, but I'm excited to see where it goes. So basically it's reading my email and it's saying, okay, here are some things that look like some recent, these are pretty recent, September 21st. So these are things that have just been popping up here recently, and it's saying here's a quick summary of some of the messages that have been coming through the group recently. Now, it did grab one from GEG Ohio as well. So might have been a little confused on that, although there's definitely some crossover between those. All right, let's try another example of extensions. We'll do another new chat. For this time, I'm going to do docs. So I'm going to say, I want you to summarize a docs file. So one of the trainings I did this summer was for Sci-Fair 2023. And I've got a document that they shared with me. It was very kind of them, where they shared the feedback from my sessions. And so maybe I just want to get a summary of, what kind of feedback did I get from the sessions that I did for that conference. And so I'm going to say summarize the docs file and give it the name, which has feedback comments from recent PD. Now, again, I've typed in the word, @docs there, but if you want to see me do it live, if I go @docs, you'll realize it's picking up the Google Docs extension there, and there it is. But you can just put @docs, and that's fine. So hopefully it'll find that document in my drive. It's looking. Hopefully it'll find it there. When I tested it before, it found it okay, and it looks good. It looks like it did find it, and it says, "Awesome! We found this. It's got feedback. Here's some of the things people said." So hopefully pretty good positive stuff. Well organized. They enjoyed the session. They learned a lot. Awesome. That's good. Okay, I'm glad to see that. So that is encouraging. All right. Last ones as far as extensions go. Let's see. We haven't looked at the extensions yet for YouTube and Maps. So let's at least hit those. Let's jump back over to James Webb. Let's say we wanted to say something like, hey, what are some YouTube videos that cover the James Webb Space Telescope that would be good for middle school students. So because I put in the @YouTube there, it is going to use the YouTube extension. It's going to contact YouTube, and now it is finding, hopefully, some good, looks like it's doing it. There it is. It's finding some good videos about the JWST that hopefully would be reasonably appropriate for middle school students. And then maybe I'm really excited about astronomy now, and so I'm going to ask it something like, show me planetariums close to Northeast Ohio. Now, I'm not actually, I could put the @maps in there, but let's see if it picks it up. If I don't actually put @maps, just by saying, I want planetariums close to my area in Northeast Ohio, let's see, hopefully it'll pick up on that. Yes, it is. See, it's contacting Google Maps. So even if you don't explicitly say the @docs or @gmail, it'll usually figure out what it is you're asking for. And there we go. It is found in the Northeast Ohio area, some planetariums, and is integrated with Google Maps for that. Good stuff. All right. Whew. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff with Bard. So we're going to start wrapping up the Bard portion of this. And the last thing I'm really going to say about that is that this is what Bard looks like as of today. I'm recording this in late September of 2023. Depending on when you watch this, there may be a whole lot of new things still coming out. And so the last button that I want to show you with Bard is this little help button up here in the top right-hand corner. If you click on the little help button in the top right-hand corner, one of the buttons in there is updates. And this lets you see what has come out new with Bard. And you can always click on that. It'll open up a new tab where you can read through the most recent updates and see. Right now, I'm on the back of these ones that just came out here in mid-September, where we've got so many new updates. But again, I know there's a whole lot more to come, but that is a great way to be able to stay up to date on all of those. All right, so that is Bard. So we've hit lots of great things with Bard. We talked about the multiple drafts and the feedback and the different tones and speaking to it and pinning and continuing and sharing and having images included in there and the extensions. All right, so let's move into another area that Google's been using AI, and that is search. So we're going to look at just two quick examples, search and their AI when searching and AI when browsing. These are two new things Google has been playing around with. Now for both of these, this is something you do need to sign up for. And so if I go back over to our resource document here, underneath the Google Bard stuff we just finished on page 3, very bottom of page 3, you'll see AI and search. And we're going to talk about AI and search and this searching AI when browsing. Both of these have a wait list. Now, I'm already on the wait list, which is, I'm in the beta of this, which is why I'm able to show these to you. But if you're not, you can click on this wait list. They're the same link for both of these. Click on the wait list link there, and it will bring you to a page where you can say you want to opt in to be included in the wait list, and hopefully you'll get added quickly. I was, and so I've got access to both of these two that I'm going to be showing you here now. But just wanted to let you know that is a separate type of a link you need to click on to get added to these. So what are these? Well, the first one is the ability to use AI when running a regular Google search. So I can basically just type in a search query in Google search, and instead of just getting regular websites, I actually get a search area here that is AI generated, and I can have a chat right there with the Google AI. So let's try that out. Let's say that I am going to, let's do, what is the difference between a simile and a metaphor? Let's say that's what I'm looking for. And so I'm going to type that in, well, copy and paste it in, and you'll notice this whole area here is getting generated. So down here, these are regular search results, but up here, this is an AI generated search reply. And so you can see it's telling me about similes and metaphors. It's giving me some examples of similes and some examples of metaphors. And then there's all these little drop downs here if I want to jump out to these websites that are applicable to what it is saying. That's really nice. It's an easy way to jump out to those related websites there. But because this is a chat, I can continue that. I can ask a follow-up question, and it's basically like doing the Bard chat. I'm having a conversation with it. Now it's got some suggested ones here as well, so I could even just click on these, like what are some examples of them, etc., etc. Looks like we may have some more here. Oh, how is that different than a idiom, for example? But again, I can just continue that conversation and have that chat going on right there inside of Search. So that's cool. The other one is the AI search experience when browsing a web page. So whether on mobile or on desktop, when you come across an article that you're reading, sometimes you'll now have the ability to have it generate key points from the page. Basically, what that means is the AI is going to read the article for you and come up with some key bullet points about what that page is about. So let's try that out. Here is an article. Let's say as part of school, you need to read an article about growth mindset. That's something we definitely talk a lot about in education, having a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. So maybe this is part of your PD and you need to read this article. Well, by looking in the top right-hand corner, you see I've got a little G button up here, my little G button for my Google search side panel. When I click on that, what that does is it opens up this side panel with like related searches and stuff. But notice it has this spot here. Key points from the page generate AI-powered key points. Now that's only there because I signed up for the Search Lab and I've got that turned on. This is the one, SGE while browsing. That is the search generative experience while browsing. So I can click on generate and it's going to read through that page for me. And there we go. It's saying here's some of the key things about this article. So I use this a lot, honestly. It's really nice. And when I come across an article that I think, well, this might be beneficial, it's like, maybe an article about AI or something, I'll do this and just read through the bullet points and be like, oh yeah, this does sound like a pretty good article. I will dive into it. Or, oh no, I don't think this is really what I was interested in. And I found that to be really helpful to have that as an option as well. All right, so that's some pretty good stuff there as well. Let's keep going. What else has Google been working on in AI beyond just Bard? There's another tool called NotebookLM. Now, this is another one you got to sign up for, and I believe I have the waitlist link there. Yes, I do. Top of page 4, NotebookLM. There's the waitlist for it. I do have access to it though, so I will pull this up and show it to you here in a second. But basically, what this is the ability to train the AI on your own Google Docs. Basically, you can point it to a collection of documents you have. Maybe it's a folder with every note you've taken during the semester for the class that you're in, or maybe it's a folder filled with articles that you've been reading. The point is you can point the AI at your own Google files in your drive, and then you can have a conversation with about those particular files, and you can ask for summaries and get ideas. So this is really designed to be, hopefully something that would benefit everybody, but definitely students working with class notes and content. Again, all this is kind of early, so let's take a look at where it is right now. Let me go ahead and pull up my NotebookLM. Here it comes. And I've only got one notebook that I've created so far. And what I did was I pulled together some articles on sargassum. I don't know if you don't know what sargassum is. It's like a seaweed. It's in the Atlantic Ocean. It's where the title, the Wide Sargasso Sea, comes from. So the Sargasso Sea is named after the sargassum that is out there. It's this seaweed, and it's apparently really grown a lot lately and has been washing ashore in Florida and other places like that and causing some problems. And so I grabbed 5 different articles about sargassum, and I put them into my drive. And then I basically clicked new source and I added them into this notebook, this NotebookLM notebook. So for each one of these, when I click on any article, you'll notice it's going to give me, first of all, a little blurb. It's going to explain, here's the gist of that article, and then some questions that I might want to ask about that article. So I can just drill into that particular article and ask questions about it and learn about that article. But what's really cool is I can also do it across all of them. So notice down here, I can click one source or 5 sources. So I can just ask about the one article. If I click here, it's grabbing all 5 of my sources. And I can ask a question like, what are the similarities between all 5 articles? Now this is cool. It's going to read all 5 of those articles and try to tell me how are they similar. And so I'm getting, what are the threads of similarity that run through all of those different articles. At the same time, I might be curious, how are they different? So I could do the same thing across all 5 of them. And, maybe some of the articles have a different slant or something, and it's giving me some keys about how some of those articles are different from each other as well. Again, new tool, still sort of in beta, but excited to see where this goes. All right. Well, this brings us to the final part of what is new in Google AI, and this is something called Duet AI. So we're going to finish up this portion with a chat about Duet AI. So this is, again, very new. And still got to kind of see where all of this goes. But basically the idea is Google is wanting to integrate AI directly into all of their products. So for example, inside of Google Docs, they're having this new little button that appears, which is a help me write button that you can click on so that while you are working inside of Google Docs, it can generate content. There you can see a picture of the help me write button. It can help generate content or help you rewrite existing content. So I do have access to that. Let me go ahead and I'm going to pull up a document here and show you what this looks like. So let's say I've got this this document with a couple of starter things in there. So for example, here I've got some information on how to change a tire. Well, what I can do is I can grab all of this text and notice I'm getting a little sparkly pencil button there next to it. So maybe my job is I need to, edit or revise this content before I send it out to my students or put it in a newsletter or whatever. Now, could I just copy this, put it in Bard, and have Bard do it for me? Absolutely, absolutely. But what we're trying to see is, would it be more convenient to just have it right here inside of Docs? So the idea is I can grab any text in my document, click the little sparkly pencil, and I can change the tone. I can make it more formal, more casual. I can summarize it. I can bulletize it. I can elaborate it. I can shorten it. I can rephrase it. Or I could tell it that I want to do something specific with it. So like, I don't know, let's say we want to bulletize it. So hopefully it should take all that text and put it into a bullet list of steps for changing a tire is what we're talking. There it is. Yeah. So there it is. And so I could hit replace and it would replace my original text with this bullet list there. I won't in this example, but I certainly could do that because let me show you another possibility here. So instead of that, I could come in again, grab all of this text, hit the little pencil, sparkly pencil, and I could say something like, make it a poem. And again, it's going to look at all of that text there. And now we should get a poem about changing a tire once it does that. Now, again, could I do this in Bard? Absolutely. So if you don't have access to this, there are other ways to do this. Of course, I could just copy this, go over to Bard, paste it in, ask the same thing, bring it back into Docs. But we're seeing this as this new Duet AI as a way to be able to to interact with AI directly inside of your document there. And again, I won't go ahead and do that, but that is something I certainly could. Other things would be like, generating writing prompts or generating a rubric. But the idea is this can all be done with that Help Me Write button that pops up there inside of Docs. Another example of Duet AI would be in Google Slides. And one of the first things that they've released as far as just like, again, this is all just kind of like beta testing right now here, is the ability to create images inside of slides. And I've got a whole video and blog post on this. So if you want to see more details on page 4, I've got a blog post and a video about this. But let me show you what I mean by it. So let's say we pull up this slideshow. Maybe I'm writing a story. Once upon a time, there was a castle on a hill at night above a river and a forest with a moon in the sky. And I want to add an image. And I've searched and I can't find an image that's just right. I can't, none of the pictures quite match what I've got in mind. Well, with Duet AI, I could say I want to insert an image. And here I have Help Me Visualize, a little sparkly image there. If I click on that, that opens up the AI tool, the Duet AI tool for helping me visualize. And so what I can do is I can just copy that text, put it in here and say, that's what I want. I want a castle on a hill at night, above a river and a forest with a moon in the sky. Now I could pick a style. There's lots of different styles, or I could add more things like, in the style of Van Gogh or whatever. I mean, you could do that. I'm just going to let it create a pretty straightforward one here for this example. It takes about 20 seconds and it usually generates a handful of examples. You'll get typically more than just one image to choose from in those. And there we go. I got 4 different images. And they're all pretty good. I might say, hey, I really like this one. This one looks pretty cool. Let's give a click on that, insert it into our slideshow, and there we go. And so again, it's not finding this picture. That's not a picture that existed on the internet. It's generating it. It's making that image. Now, there's other things in Duet AI, like the ability in Sheets to generate tables inside of Sheets. Also in Gmail, the ability to write and refine emails, getting that sparkly pencil button inside of Gmail. So with Duet AI, again, like I'm saying, it's a little bit unknown exactly how this is going to all work right now. But what we've seen is it seems like this part may be an additional paid feature. Whereas like Bard is free and the search things I've shown you are free. This, it's sounding like it's going to be something that is like an add-on cost. So, like how with Google Workspace for Education, you can use the free version, which is like the fundamentals, or you can, pay for like the teaching and learning upgrade or something like that. The way they've been showing this off so far with businesses is that it would be an add-on cost for businesses to have the Duet AI portion. I don't know how that applies to education yet. I apologize. This is such a new thing that I don't have all the details on that yet, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. I think it looks really powerful and looks really exciting. Again, if it's something that is paid for and that's not an option, you always have Bard, and we can always jump over to Bard to do a lot of these things right there in Bard. But that brings us to the last thing we're going to talk about in this session, which is what's next? What's coming next? So everything I just showed you right now, it's either completely out, like the Bard stuff, that's just out. It's there, it's available. Or it's things like the search tool that you can join, as, join the wait list for that, or the AI Duet, which again, they're kind of beta testing all of those tools as well. But what is still coming? Well, one of the big things that is coming is the rest of the AI Duet. And I'll skip past this little video here. We'll just jump to the next slide here, where you can see all of the different things that they're hoping to do with AI Duet. Having it, not just write emails for you, but summarize your threads, organize your inbox. In Google Meet, have it listen to your entire Meet conversation and generate summaries of the Meet meeting that you had. in Google Sheets, being able to generate formulas and charts, and in slides, not just images, but making like soundtracks. I've even heard that it might be generating videos as well. With docs, there's supposed to be a side panel that's going to be coming in where you can just have a conversation with the AI about your document as well. And we mentioned like in Google Meet, being able to generate like background images through AI and so forth. So there's a lot coming with Duet AI on those levels. Bard is supposedly going to be getting an update to integrate with Adobe Firefly. So Adobe Firefly is a text-to-image generation tool where you describe the image you want and it creates it for you. And we've had some reports that Bard is going to get an integration with that. So that's great. Just from Bard, you'll be able to say, hey, I need a picture of such and such, and it can generate that picture, and then you could add that into your slideshow or your document or something, and that would just be a part of Google Bard. So excited to see that. And then there's lots of other odds and ends, things that, we're not sure. We know some about, helping teaching, languages, and, generating images, and being a chat bot inside of Chrome while browsing. Who knows? We'll have to see as all of these continue to come out. All right. Well, the next things in here we're not going to be getting into in this particular. Like I said, there's a whole lot more in this document. I do have a whole other sessions that get into uses for AI in education, as well as addressing AI misuse. I would encourage you though, please do continue to flip through the rest of the resource document here. I've tried to pull together lots and lots of practical examples of how AI can be used to help with reading, with writing, with conversations, providing feedback, coding, as a personal tutor to help you with your tasks. But then also, like I said, I've got a whole video on how to address potential misuse as far as, creating guidelines and educating our students and being able to evaluate, are they using AI or not? Lots of great resources there. But that's going to wrap up what we are talking about here in this one, which again, the whole focus of this was on Google's AI tools. I hope you found that valuable. I would encourage you, try these out. If you have not used Bard yet, get on in there, get signed up, get using it. It's really important for us as educators to know how these tools work so we can use them to their best ability in our classroom and also address potential concerns as well. Well, all of these resources can all be found at bit.ly/Kurtz-Google AI. That will always get you back to that document. And I update this document frequently, so do check it from time to time to see as new things develop with Bard and with other Google AI tools. I will continue to update them there in the document. Thank you so much for learning with me here today. It has been my pleasure. Take care.